This is Snake. Do you read me?
I am most eager to engage in some unadulterated violence.
Tell that to the Covenant.
Time's up! Give me strength!
Wake me when you need me.
I will never be a memory.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Immortal Sanctum Gaming Podcast. I am your host, James, along with my co-host, JT.
Hey.
And today we're going to be talking about MMOs, the ones that are currently in development and we're all excited for. Should we just jump right into it?
Oh, I'm all about that. Let's do this.
All right. First up, what do we got?
We got a very popular one that's, well, it's popular with the people that know about it, I'll say that way. First one we got to talk about is WildStar.
Oh, yes, WildStar.
So, it's very funny about this game because not many people know about it as I think should know about it, but the people that know about it absolutely love it.
Oh, yeah.
So, one thing that has really interested me in this game is how they're marketing this game. It's just, the marketing team over there just are a bunch of fun, lighthearted guys that are making these videos that are just hilarious and informing at the same time.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's great when you can see the developers just having fun with the game and not just being all serious and just, oh, this is lore, and just like, no, just have fun with it. And it's great to see that from an MMO company.
It's so funny. One of the main groups on there are the Exiles, and the girl that you see in the video portraying the Exiles, I have to say, living in Mississippi, I know people that talk exactly like that.
Oh man! So you said it's so is it Mississippi in space then? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know if I want to say that because it might turn some people away from the game.
Okay, we won't go that far then. Okay.
But WildStar's bringing a lot of new stuff to the table that I haven't seen before. War plots, which we'll get into later. The combat system they're using, and just they're not going, hey, we're the WoW killer. Where you've seen many MMOs say that in the past, and look what happened to them. There's been this trend lately in MMOs that I've really enjoyed, and that is where they're going more just after the players they're looking for, and not trying to become the next biggest thing. They're just making a game for gamers. And I really think WildStar is doing that perfectly.
Well, and I think that's the trick. I mean, it's like if you make an MMO to kill the other MMO, then you don't have your players in mind then. It's just about killing another MMO. But when you make a game that you're focusing on the players, then your players will make your game the next biggest MMO because they're going to get behind it. And they're going to be like, yes, this is the game I want to play. And they're going to get behind it and make a dynasty like they have with World of Warcraft going on right now, and that thing's pretty much untoppable. I mean, you cannot throw anything at World of Warcraft and make it topple.
Yeah, exactly. So to dive into this WildStar thing, James, what's one of your favorite parts of WildStar?
I would have to say the path system is really got me intrigued because I like that idea of, how a lot of MMOs want to focus on, okay, your combat, the way you combat is the only way that differentiates your playstyle from all your other friends. But in the way like you approach systems and exploring and doing science stuff and all these different things just intrigues me because it just seems like it's going to add another layer to your gameplay to distinguish yourself from, like you can play the same class twice but do a different path, and you've already got new content based on your path. You can be a settler the next time and still be a damage class. It's just great.
Yeah, for those people that don't know, could you explain what the paths are?
Yeah, they've got I believe they've got settler, which settlers are more of and the paths just open up content based on which path you choose. So it'll be more tailored to that sort of play style. So the settlers are more of your social path. So you can be creating, I think they said like you can do stuff like extend like the flight pass system for other players. You can create a bar, you can create a campfire, and then other people can go to that campfire and they can get bonuses, but you're getting XP off of that. So they think, you're helping them out, but in fact, they're helping you out by using the fire. So the more people get around, the more you get path XP for that. So that's kind of interesting. And then you've got the Explorer, and the Explorers, I mean, they're just all about delving in and finding things that other people can't find. Like they're finding tunnel systems, and they're finding cracks in the world and falling down through and finding these tunnel systems that have been abandoned, and there's a lot of lore that goes along with it and stuff like that. I mean that looks, I mean, they've even got like jumping like to like the highest points on like this big huge thing that goes up in the air, and it's platforming, and it's like I've not seen that in an MMO. I mean, like everyone's platforming in the main city in World of Warcraft, but that's not part of the game. So it's interesting to see them kind of bring that into a playstyle in an MMO. And then there's also, I think they announced like, time trials, like you're racing from point to point, and like you can even like challenge your friends to that, which is just, it's crazy. I never thought I'd see that in an MMO. And then of course you've got like the soldier path, and that's just going to allow you to, get more content with just fighting. I mean, you're going in and you're, getting waves and waves of enemies. It's crafting it more to just like, you're just going in damage class. That's all you want to focus on is just killing. So they'll tailor more quests into that path line. And then they've also got the scientist path line where, you're more of like delving into the lore of what's going on, and like you're examining like exotic plants, and you're finding different like, minerals and things like that, and exploring them and that's kind of more of like where that path system goes for that too. And it's just crazy because it's not just combat that distinguishes, it's these little paths that add another layer to your gameplay.
No, definitely. I am super excited for that. And like you were saying, being able to play through the game as maybe the same class, but a whole different set of quests and everything to determine how you get to that end game. Me personally, I'm going Explorer first. Definitely doing Explorer.
Yeah.
Are you going to?
I mean, it looks like a fun class.
Yeah.
Or path, I want to say, not class.
I get to be Indiana Jones, for crying out loud. I mean, that's just amazing.
So you mean like if you're being Indiana Jones, that means I'm going to run up to you in the world, join your party, and I'm going to see a big boulder chasing you out of a tunnel?
Possibly, if I don't just put my class, it's probably going to be gunslinger, so I'm just going to turn around and shoot it a bunch. That's my plan.
Gotcha. Just make a burst into a bunch of pebbles. It's like, chase me now, you little pebbles.
Exactly. That movie would have been a lot shorter if he just had some kind of gun that could have exploded the boulder.
Oh yeah.
All right. So the combat in WildStar is kind of unique. James, would you like to talk about it, or you would want me to do it?
Yeah, I can talk about it. What's really interesting about this combat system is they're doing this telegraphing thing, which pretty much lets everyone kind of know like what you're doing by throwing down these lines on the ground, different colored lines. And like the mobs have them too. And so like if they're throwing down an AoE spell, you see exactly where the AoE spell is going to land. If they're shooting a beam, you see the path that beam is going to go down. And then of course you're supposed to dodge and move around, and the mechanics, they give you mechanics to react to that, which is it's a very interesting way of playing an MMO. I mean, you have stuff like Guild Wars where you have more of that action combat MMO, but you're still reacting in more of a traditional MMO sense where you're kind of, you learn the steps of the fight, and then that's how you go about it. And then also with combat, I mean, on top of the telegraphing, they've got just like in the dungeons and stuff like that, the bosses, it's not like you walk in and that boss is going to do the same thing every time. They said their boss mechanics are actually going to be dynamic in the fact that there's not going to be a walkthrough for their raids or their fights. Everyone's going to be like, they might be able to say, this is how we beat it, but you could go in and you could have a completely different experience with that boss, because they said that they don't want that type of, because that breaks the game. They say they want it to be unique for everyone who jumps in that raid or that dungeon. And that's crazy, because that's one thing that we want as MMO players, is something that's unique and fresh every time we go to do it. And when you go to a raid, I mean, when you do a raid and you just learn the steps to the dance and you're just sitting there doing it, rinse and repeat. I mean, yes, it's fun learning it, but once you learn it, it's the same thing over and over again, and it just everyone just gets bored after a while.
Exactly, and that, as a guild leader of a raiding guild, that is something that plagues our guild all the time. Is once we clear that content, we're just doing it the same exact way over and over again.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that changing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I mean, that telegraphing, I mean, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, I didn't really understand it, and I was just kind of looking at it going, doesn't that kind of take away from the kind of, you kind of like, before you kind of had to look at the mob and like see what the mob was doing, but now you're kind of like looking at the ground, and then where that attack's going to happen. But they're promising that it's not an easy mode, and that they're actually tailoring their game for the hardcore player. They said they want to tailor their game for the 1%. They said they want to start you out as a noob at the very beginning, and by the end, you are an elitist, progression. You can handle that stuff at the very end. It's very interesting. And they said that the telegraph system, you get introduced to it at the very beginning of the game, but by the end of the game, it's so crazy that it's not the cakewalk that you think it is looking at it. I'm really interested to see how that scales later in the game and see how crazy these big fights get. It's just kind of interesting.
I definitely, there was one video that I was watching, and it was kind of showing that progression of the telegraph system from just starting out to the higher range. Now, it didn't say like if it was max level or half level or something like that, but it started out with just like this one medium-sized circle that was where you were, and then you could easily just walk out of the way before the mob did anything. But as it progressed slowly, it became 5 circles, it became a huge line that's blocking up, and then a couple circles, and then like the last one, the screen was almost completely filled with where spikes were about to come out the ground and attack everybody. And it was a group of 4 people, so you're spread out, going, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. What do we do?
Yeah.
And if you're the healer, you're going, okay, who's about to get hit? Who's not about to get hit? The tank's going, where do I need to get where I can maybe not get too far away from him in case this is a mechanic where the aggro drops? Where do I need to be?
Yeah.
DPS needs to be somewhere where they can steal DPS, but not get hit and just get killed instantly. And that it makes it to where that battle through the entire time, you're really going to be thinking, you're going to have to be thinking multiple ways at once. You're not just sitting there, okay, I'm DPS. I need to stand right here in the butt of the boss and just hit him the whole time. Like majority of the game. This is going to be where like, oh, he's about to attack me from this way. He's going to go underground or something. Spikes are going to come everywhere. Then the whole battle's going to change up from what it was a second ago. Well, he's going to do it again in a little while, and the whole battle's going to change again and again and again, and it's not going to be the same thing when you go in there next time when you fight him.
That random battle mechanic is something that, I mean, I've thought for a long time as an MMO gamer that it just seemed like a no-brainer. It's like, why make the content just so rinse and repeatable? It's like, when you bring random mechanics in, and I'm sure from a design standpoint, that's not just like so easy to throw in, but I mean, it makes your content that much less ageable. It doesn't age as bad. So, and that's one of the things with content in MMOs is keeping it fresh. And that's going to keep people coming back. That's going to keep people playing, and keep people invested in your game is fresh content. And it's like, they're talking about raids in this game. They're not, I mean, they said they're tailoring their raids for the 1% of raiding guilds that are together enough to actually be able to get through this content. They said they're not creating raids that, just, Joe Blow and his friend can get together and just, rinse through. They said that's not how it is. They're crafting raids that are more akin to old school style thought in an MMO, like where it's something you really got to work at. And they said they're tailoring the rewards to actually, benefit that. It's not like, oh, this is just, everyone's got the same gear. I mean, they said you're going to be seeing guys that have this gear on that you're like, oh man, I wish I had that. And it's not like, oh yeah, me and my buddies are going to go get it tomorrow. It's not going to be that way. I mean, that's kind of mind blowing. You don't hear about that anymore in MMOs.
No, and I'm personally really happy with that. And I know they're going to still address the issue of people that want to just go out and do like some solo stuff and still get good gear. It may not be the best gear, but you're still going to get really good gear if you go out and do your solo stuff too. Because they said once the story really doesn't hit its high points until you are max level.
Yeah.
So you got to think that what the problem is with a lot of MMOs that come out, they worry about that part before the end game.
Mm-hmm.
Where it seems with like WildStar, they're going, oh, majority of the stuff we're offering you is going to be at end game. There's that want to get to end game so much, so you can experience the better parts of it, the better story, the events, the raids, and everything like that, which is missing from majority of MMOs when they launch.
Yeah, well, it's like, and it seems so counterintuitive for an MMO to design so much grind content, because if you look at the way most people play MMOs, is they get the game the second, like if they're doing digital downloads or they're going and grabbing it at GameStop at midnight, they're bringing it back, they're loading it up, and they've got that thing, and they're grinding on that thing until they get level cap, and then they're like, okay, where's all my content? And most MMOs go, wait, you're not supposed to get there that fast, and everyone goes, but you're supposed to have content there. And people are like, and then developers freak out because they're like, you weren't supposed to get there that fast. You're supposed to be playing it for 3 months before you get there. And everyone's like, but we got there on opening night. So it's great to see an MMO that's focusing so much on the in-game side of an MMO, because then we'll actually have stuff to do when we get to level 50.
What? That is crazy. You're not supposed to be able to do that in MMOs.
Oh, I'm
You're supposed
sorry.
to sit there and wait for the next patch to come out. What do you know about MMOs? Oh.
Nothing, obviously.
All right, so we've talked about the PvE aspect of the game. Let's get into the PvP aspect.
You mean people still play PvP?
They want to play it. Which game offers it is a good question. One of the main aspects that WildStar is coming with is their war plots.
Oh, yeah.
Now, these are rumored to be 20 versus 20 and 40 versus 40.
That is just insane.
Amazing. Let's build up this war plot with cannons and traps and all this, and let's just fight this other war plot, and just who can come out and win. And that is just like,
yeah,
to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, large scale PvP is very enticing because you get enough people together and you can really get some good PvP going. And just the whole point of being able to craft your own battlefield is just, it's kind of an insane thought, It's like, and like they're talking about, it's an extension of their house building mechanics. They just said it's on steroids in this, but it's like it's this kind of the same applies where you have things where you place things and like they said like you can go and defeat a boss in a raid, and I don't know if it's like once you defeat the boss you get this. It's probably just a random chance, but like you can actually, if the set of circumstances are met, you can place that raid boss in your war plot. And that is insane. So that raid boss is fighting with you in that war plot. That is crazy. What? Yeah.
Oh, you're making me want to play this even more now.
Yeah, I heard that on an interview a couple of days ago when I was looking on YouTube. But yeah, and they said it's not going to be as powerful as he was in the raid, but they said that's still going to be. And they said you might not be able to place much after you place the raid boss, but I guess
that doesn't matter.
yeah.
It's a raid boss.
Yeah, no, I know it's crazy. But I guess at that time it would become more of, protect the one piece that, that's kind of like your queen, and that's like the only piece you have at that point in the game, and you're just like guarding it, like everyone's guarding it, I guess, and just, and then again, I don't really know how it all works, and I'm just excited to see more about it, but, I'm sitting back and just kind of thinking and like, oh, what if they did that? Oh, that's kind of fun,
Oh gosh, I just want to go up to somebody and be like, oh, look, I just got this pet. It's a fluffy kitten pet. And I was like, oh, really? My pet's back at my war plot. It's the raid boss that's wiped your entire guild out for the last 2 weeks that you haven't been able to. I've got one at home with me.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I don't know of an MMO who's approached. I guess the only thing that you could see is maybe guild versus guild battles where maybe you build up a guild castle and then you go at it and, you challenge another guild type thing. I guess there's been other MMOs that have had that kind of system, but I mean, just the individual to build a war plot and just deck it out with the best stuff that they can afford and or obtain, and then challenge somebody else, and then you've got a 40 versus 40 battle or a 20 versus 20. I mean, how on earth can that go wrong?
I know. I mean, that's even what I love about the 40 versus 40, like I have friends and that maybe aren't the best PvPers.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're in those small groups of like 8-on-8 or 4-on-4 or something like that,
yeah,
they feel so much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, if I mess up, everyone else around me is going to notice I mess up, and there's going to be such a huge problem because everybody's like, there's such a small team. Where if you've got 40-on-40, if you're really good, yes, you're going to make a difference. Mm-hmm. But if you're not so great, there's so many other players on your side that they can pick up your slack. And personally, there's people that just go, hey, I need you to run over there, and you don't even have to do anything. Just make them think we're going that way. Run that way for me. And that's a team player right there.
Take one for the team. Hey, guys, I'm over here.
Exactly. Exactly. Just run over there, pop all your defensive cooldowns, and just wait while we sneak around the other side of their war plot.
Yeah.
They'll never know.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait to see some more on this system.
All right, so James, would you like to jump into our next game?
You mean we have to move on from WildStar already?
No. Don't worry, guys. We're going to try to keep everybody posted up on WildStar. If you just keep checking out our articles and stuff, we have WildStar stuff up all the time.
Yeah, and we're constantly trying to find more to put up, and just I mean, we love WildStar, and believe me, we're going to be keeping up on this one. I guess our next one is Destiny. The MMO that came out of nowhere. I mean, the guys from Bungie doing an MMO, what? It's kind of like crazy. I was looking at some gameplay on this, and I mean, because I was thinking about this. I'm like, Bungie bringing a first-person shooter MMO and just mashing them together, and it's made babies, and this is the result. And you're just like, what is that going to look like? What I mean, what is everyone going to think? Can we take it out in public? And
it's too hideous.
Yeah, but I've seen some gameplay on this, and very limited from what they've shown at E3, and just from the gameplay, it's like a first-person shooter that's multiplayer all the time, but you're taking it like it's a single player game, which is like crazy. I mean, like they showed the demo, the guy jumps in and then he's walking around and he's about to go up into this area to start doing his quest, and all of a sudden one of his buddies jumps in and he just lands right there in the thing. He's part of his group, and they get their guns ready and they just start blazing a trail, and then they're going through and destroying enemies and talking to each other cooperatively, and so it's got that FPS feel. And you get through and you're fighting all this stuff, and they get to the end and there's a boss there, and they kill the boss, and of course they get loot, and then they go out, and just outside of where that boss was, they go into another open area, and a public event starts, and you're like, what public event? You see it pop up on the screen. You're like, what is this? This is an FPS. You're not supposed to have public events in an FPS. And then all of a sudden, these big, huge monsters start dropping in from these ships. And then all these people spawn in. And you see them coming in on speeders and all this kind of stuff like that. And so everyone just joins in this big, huge battle. And so everyone starts to kill this and I'm guessing it's more like a Guild Wars, kind of open event thing where things are just popping up and happening, and people around can just join in on it, which is crazy. I never thought you'd see that in an FPS, and but like the developer said, like, that's an open event and that's happening right there, but you don't even have to join in. You can go on, you and your buddy, or even just you can go on and progress with whatever quest line, whatever storyline you're on, and keep on playing more of the game. And they talked about some kind of PvP matches, and I don't know exactly how that works. And the guy mentioned raids in the thing, and I was like, what? I don't understand how that works yet, but he said that in the stream, and I was like, how's that going to work? I don't know yet, but I mean, they've already surprised me from what I kind of thought this could be, and it's totally opposite of what I thought it could be, and it's better.
I definitely want to hear more and more about this game.
Yeah.
Like you said, I don't know how everything's going to work right now, but from what I'm seeing, I am falling in love with it. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And just the kind of, it's bringing something to the market that you really haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and who doesn't like a first-person shooter? I mean, I guess, yes, you have people who don't like the craziness of like competitive FPSs, but I mean, everyone has an FPS that they enjoy playing, and you know, I think this is kind of what some people have been waiting for.
Exactly. That's something I was exactly about to say.
Great minds think alike.
Then why are we thinking the same thing?
Hey.
That there's a lot of people that like these first-person shooters and stuff, but if you try to go online, there's those quote unquote 12-year-olds that will slaughter you and then rub it in your face the whole time that they killed you
and teabag you. And your mom's sitting there on the couch and you're like, what is he doing? Like, oh, nothing.
He's giving me CPR.
Yeah, it's with his crotch. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. It's a gaming thing. You wouldn't understand, Mom.
You wouldn't understand, Mom. So, this aspect of being able to go and just jump in like that guy was about to enter that mysterious wall, what was on the other side of that wall and stuff like that, and having maybe that player that's not so great at first-person shooters, but then having a group of just friends that can go in and just you take down stuff together. And there's, even in those open events where there's still going to be those competitors like, okay, I want to kill the most stuff. I have to be the best player here.
Yeah.
That person can still do fine there, and people that are just like, I'm just there to have fun and shoot stuff can also have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about this, is that it's bringing all that together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really interested to see as the game grows and we get more information about this and just where I can buy it first.
Yeah. No, it's great because, I mean, as far as I know, this is coming to consoles only, and it looks like it's going to be available for both the PS4 and Xbox One. So wherever people lie on that side of the console war, they're going to be able to get a hold of this game. But what I don't know is whether people will be able to play, say the people on the PS4 will be able to interact with people on the Xbox One. Now that's interesting because I don't think there's any games multiplayer-wise in console that people can interactively play between console types. Like you can't play with your buddy in Call of Duty that's playing on the Xbox, and you can't, link with him from the PlayStation, which would be interesting if they broke down that barrier, because in an MMO you almost have to. But it'd be interesting to see how they approach that.
There is Defiance. Now, I don't know, but I'm going to assume, and yes, I know what happens when I assume, that it's all on the same thing.
Oh, really?
Because it's out for consoles and PS. I'll do some research after this to check, but I would assume, because I don't think they could survive breaking up that many different events, PC, PS, and the Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, because you split your market at that point, and it's like, how MMOs survive is getting everyone playing together, and it almost seems like that's working against the whole MMO, the way they work, Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I have, for instance, kind of getting off track of MMOs, but I have a buddy who he wants to play one of the first-person shooters with me, and I forget which one it is now. I have it in my PlayStation 3 library. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but he has the Xbox version, and he wants to play some, so I'm going to have to go buy an Xbox copy so we can play together online. And it would just be great to see that kind of barrier break down where you've got the same game from the same publisher, but you just have it on a different system, but you can still play in the same online multiplayer.
Yeah, so I can't see, like you were saying, I can't see how they're going to be able to do it without having everyone, even regardless of console or PC and everything like that, be on one server, pretty much.
Well, I guess that wraps it up for Destiny. I mean, we don't really know too much more other than that. I mean, they're just now starting to get, kind of reveal kind of what's all this game is all about. I guess next on our list here is Elder Scrolls Online. Skyrim's going MMO.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I am completely on the fence about this MMO. I think it could be amazing, and I think it could be horrible. It's all about how it's completely up to them, because they're promoting one of the major things people have been asking for is the realm versus realm type PvP, the huge battles with let's storm this castle and all of this. And they had that in a game called Dark Age of Camelot. And then they tried it in Warhammer, and the game itself didn't work out. Now, there's majority of the people that were with Mythic that made Dark Age of Camelot are now with the company that is making Elder Scrolls Online. So
that's interesting.
They have the talent for it, and they have the experience. It's just, is the blending of Elder Scrolls and that realm versus realm gonna work? Now, the story base of it fits already.
Yeah.
But it's just trying to get in that gameplay and the gamers itself, because people that play Elder Scrolls, they're not playing Elder Scrolls in the past to go, okay, I want to fight 400 other people in this giant wilderness, where they're more like, oh, I want to explore this dungeon, I want to take this down and stuff like that. It seems more PvE to me. Elder Scrolls does. And now the spin they're using with Elder Scrolls Online is, let's do PvP. Now there's a huge market of people just going, please, we've been waiting for a great PvP game forever. Please deliver this to us. We will throw money at you if you will do this.
Yeah, take my money.
So, if they can really show that they're going to be doing the PvP how people have been asking for it, then it will be a huge success. But if they try to intermix, let's do the classic Elder Scrolls PvE, let's go off on our own and explore a dungeon, and then go, oh, or that same person that just likes being by themselves all the time can also go out and get together with 200 other people and take down a castle.
Yeah.
It's kind of gonna, the players and the type of players, let me say that, the type of players and the game company themselves are going to have to find a meeting point and get it together. And unfortunately, there has been little news from Elder Scrolls if that's going to happen or not.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to keep up with Elder Scrolls quite a bit, and it's been kind of hard because they're releasing a lot of like backstory videos and some different things, but I mean, it seems like every time I see something, it's not so to the point. It's more of like, oh, this kind of part of the story or this or that kind of really doesn't, really have any bearing. And it's just, I mean, when you talk about the MMO, people want to know systems. They want to know how this is going to work. They want to know combat. They want to know PvP. They want to know how it's all going to work together. And, I mean, I assume that, I assume there's things that I haven't even seen that they have released. But for me, it's kind of hard because I've never played an Elder Scrolls game before, and I know that's like almost sacrilegious. I know.
What are you doing here? Go away.
Yeah, and I've got friends who they tell me this, dude, I will give you my copy. You have to play this, and it's just one of those games that I've wanted to get into. I've just never had the opportunity to really sit down and jump into Elder Scrolls. I've seen them, and they look great. And it'll be interesting to see if, how Elder Scrolls can appeal to me as a gamer who's never stepped foot in their world before. I'm kind of curious how they're going to try to pull me in, as a new gamer. Because, I mean, that's really, they're bringing in a new installment. It's an opportunity to bring in new gamers. Plus, they're moving it over to an MMO. So you've got a whole different type of group of people you've got to bring into your game. I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the challenges with these gaming companies that try to make a MMO that's already been like a regular game.
Yeah.
Like even SWTOR, they were drawing off that Star Wars fans and those KOTOR fans.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is, yeah, the problem with that is they have an idea in their heads of what they think it should be like before they even start developing it.
Yeah.
Where something like WildStar, you have no idea what it. You're just taking in whatever they give you because it's brand new to you. You've never heard of it before.
Yeah, and like in a game like WildStar, they can tell you the sky is green and you believe it because they're creating a whole new experience that you've never been in before.
While there's also a benefit of having been an Elder Scrolls game, because people who love Elder Scrolls are going to go, I want to play it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're going to go, if they play it and it's not what they're looking for, they're going to bash it worse than anyone else you can ever think of. Those fans that are, I'm loyal to the death, are also going to be the ones that will make the loudest noise about how horrible it is if they don't like it.
Yeah, they'll put your game in an early grave if they can, if you piss them off.
Yeah,
or just don't give them what they're expecting.
Exactly. So if Elder Scrolls, which is, if you haven't heard, is getting pushed back to 2014.
Have they said why?
No.
Oh.
I'm not surprised, though. In all honesty, I'm not surprised. The game's graphics look meh. And the reason they said behind that is because they're going to have so many people that are doing these big, huge PvP events that they will crash your computer if they've maxed out their graphics.
Oh.
So, I understand why they did that.
Yeah.
But they're not telling me, why is there going to be that many people on the screen doing this? What incentive have you given us to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And so, their marketing team's in a very difficult position right now of trying to go, okay, let's appeal to these people that are just new MMO players. They may not have played Elder Scrolls before, like you.
Yeah.
And then these people that are also have played every Elder Scrolls, and they're ready to see what Elder Scrolls Online would be like.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got in some cases, two completely different ideas of what Elder Scrolls Online should be like. And now they have the extremely difficult task of trying to make those people happy. And we all know how nice and friendly the MMO community is.
The best group of friends you can have pre-launch, and then once you launch your game, they are like ravenous wolves ready to tear you apart for everything you're worth.
Oh. So, is there anything else you'd like to say about Elder Scrolls before we move on?
Well, one thing that kind of got me thinking when you talked about their marketing team, and that does kind of like, because I can compare, because I can kind of look at both WildStar and Elder Scrolls as both games I knew nothing about, and I'm just being pulled in from a marketing point of view. And I can already say that the type of marketing that WildStar has put out has just pulled me in. I'm slapping my money, my wallet, in their faces going, take my money right now. But Elder Scrolls, I'm still like, what is this game? What am I going to be buying? I don't really know if that's my game yet, so it's like, I don't really know. And maybe I just haven't seen the right trailers or videos. I don't know. But, I just know like WildStar, the first day I started looking into it, I knew what it was and I knew I want to play that game. So, and marketing just has so much to do with MMOs and how they're perceived by the public and getting them the right message. And it's just a very important part of development.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's the ball's in their court right now. They can either go all out and maybe see what these other gaming communities are doing right now and the news they're giving out and help people know what is going on. Because that's one of the major outcries of the community in almost all MMOs is we want more information.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just tell us we're working on this, it may not happen, but we're going to see what we can do, is a lot better than we've got stuff in the works, but we're not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, but and I'm just kind of thinking about WildStar makes news updates fun. They make it exciting, and they make you they throw so much sugar in with it that you're just like, give me more news. I mean, I need to find out more of this. I mean, they present it in a way where it's just fun and you want to know more about this game. But when you look at, I mean, just me personally, when I look at Elder Scrolls, it just doesn't, they don't entice me. They just kind of like, they do a lot of talking and they do a lot of, kind of like this is that, but there's just not that, that flair that kind of makes me go, oh, okay, now I need to know more about this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. I will say one thing, though, for those diabetics out there listening, they don't throw sugar, they throw Splenda.
Yeah.
I know James is secretly trying to kill me, throwing sugar at me.
Whew. Nasty Splenda. Okay.
Don't worry, guys. That's podcast number 3. We're going to talk about Splenda and sugar the whole time.
Podcast number 3, all about Splenda. 45 minutes of Splenda talk.
Woo! Finally.
Well, I guess we can move on to Final Fantasy now.
You seem so excited about it. So, if you have played that awesome, wonderful game that was Final Fantasy XIV.
Which one? There was a Final Fantasy XIV before this one?
You didn't know? Let me tell you.
I never heard about it.
So, Final Fantasy XIV released, what many people thought was rushed, and I will throw my hat in there and say I think it was too. Game came out. Everybody was like, wow, this is stuff that's going on my screen. So, they actually did, it was either 3 or 4 months of free gameplay, because people bought the game and then played it for about 3 minutes and left.
Oh, wow.
So, they actually gave, it was either 3 or 4 months, maybe more, maybe 6 months of free gameplay, because they were losing so many players so fast.
Yeah.
So something that Square Enix did that I am a huge fan of is that I don't want to say it this way, they listened to their gamers. They saw what was going on, and they said, okay, we're going to fix this for y'all. They actually apologized for their game, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And said, we're going to redo this for y'all. So what they came up with is Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. Its launch date is August 26th, I think. Someone may have to correct me on that later.
This year?
Yes, of this year.
Oh, okay.
So what they've done is, one thing I will have to say for this, Final Fantasy XIV is an amazing looking game. It is very, very easy on the eyes, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing a lot of, there's nothing so far that I've heard that is just going to be revolutionary about this game. What they seem to be doing is listening to the community of what they like about MMOs and putting that in Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. So, I'm not expecting huge numbers out of 14, as in like player base and everything like that, but I do see a lot of loyal fans because they listen to their fans and they actually changed the game itself to what their players are looking for. You're going to have your something that's very unique to that is that they have the jobs and class system where you don't have to make 10 other characters to play the different roles or jobs you'd like to play. You can just make your one character and you just change their weapon, new job.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting spin on the way they approach combat in MMOs. I mean, because most MMOs, I mean, you pick your class at the beginning of your game, and that you are a healer from the minute you're level 1 to the minute you're to level cap, and you're never going to be anything else. Don't even try to think about it. And that's a very interesting take on, you can play this playstyle once that gets old, or if you need to do something else, you can switch over to this, and that's all in keeping it fresh.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in Final Fantasy XIV when it launches, or A Realm Reborn, sorry, when it launches, because it's not going to be that revolutionary thing, but what it's doing is it's focusing on the good aspects of MMOs that a lot of MMOs that are currently out all have those one or two good aspects of that MMO, but they're kind of lacking in other departments. A Realm Reborn's seems to be taking that path. Okay, we're kind of seeing where these other games are messed up. We're kind of seeing where our games were messed up. So let's, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, let's get that classic game that MMO players are looking for with the good aspects of each of them.
Yeah, I really, when you look at Square Enix, I mean, they were king of the RPG industry for a long time, and it was a shock to me when I heard that they were even going to try to get into the MMO industry. I know most people say, oh, that's just natural extension of just your role-playing game. We're in a new age now. But the original Final Fantasy came at a time where Square Enix, and I always felt this way, they stretched themselves too thin. They had too many projects going on. I mean, no matter how big your company is, you can only do so much at one time, and I feel that probably had something to do with why the original game wasn't as great. And then Square Enix has kind of gotten into a spot where they need to make some money. I mean, the recent games didn't do, like the Tomb Raider didn't do as well as they thought it would. It was an excellent game. I mean, one of the best games I've played all year, and it didn't even make enough money. And it's like, you don't want to see a company like Square Enix get into financial trouble because you want Final Fantasies forever. So you get at a spot where even if you're not going to play this game, you still got to root for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm personally interested in it because I'm gonna play it out and see how it is, because there's a lot of the MMO community is those people that started off with games like EverQuest, Dark Age of Camelot, even Vanilla WoW, and there's always going to be that bias of your first MMO is always going to be the greatest one.
Mm-hmm.
While some MMOs are trying to reinvent the wheel and failing, and I will say that some of these newer MMOs are going to be revolutionary and changing the way MMOs are, I still think that there's this niche market that's just looking for that old style MMO that's just with updated graphics.
Yeah. And
personally, in all honesty, as it may not be my main MMO, but I am looking for that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all these companies are starting to learn that they don't need to make the next big 8 million, 10 million subscriber thing. They just need to they need to get that niche market and stick with it. And they will make plenty of money. They will be for 10 years, where if they try to reinvent the wheel and fail, they're going to go down the drain very fast.
Yeah, well, one thing I look for when I see a new MMO coming out, is that company making an MMO, or even any game for that matter, for gamers? Because when you see a company making a game for gamers, then their whole approach to it is just different. And they usually come out with a whole lot better product in the end, because you can say, oh, we're making a game to kill this one or to kill that one, but that stuff, when you focus on the gamers and you're catering to their experience and you want to give them something that they enjoy, then they will repay you by buying your game and supporting your game. And that's kind of the most complicated part of it, and the most simplest part of it is just creating something that your fans just become loyally attached to because it's the experience that they want to play. You know, sometimes they don't even know that's the experience, and that's where we go reinvent the wheel because we didn't even know that that was possible. But then some of these developers just, you know, make something that we're just like, oh, I didn't even see that, you know, and it's the next greatest thing.
Yeah, and I definitely think that there's some games out there like Eve, for instance, Eve Online, who has I think over 500,000 subscribers now, and they were never really going for that, let's be the biggest thing ever. They went, hey, let's make this game.
Yeah.
People that want to play this game are going to love this game. People that don't want to play, that don't like this game aren't going to play it. We're not trying to make a game for everybody. We're trying to make a game for this type of gamers, and that's what they did. And they've been extremely successful. I think their comic books are coming out for player stories that happened, a TV show for an actual player story that happened, and all of this.
Oh, wow.
So you got to think, something that was so successful as Eve Online never went out going, I'm going to be the next WoW killer. No, they focused on their gamers, the type of gamers they were trying to make a game for, and that is what made them successful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you bet on the gamers, and that bet's going to pan out, you know, because gamers want to be catered to, and you know, we're always telling developers what we want. I mean, we're like, just make this game. This is what we want, you know, and we're always trying to find the developer that'll listen. But if you can find a developer that is listening to the community and, you know, wanting to create a game for the gamers, then you can't beat that experience.
Yeah, and and I really see that trend coming in now where I haven't heard of any of these newer MMOs that we've been discussing go, we're the next WoW killer. I haven't heard one of them say it. They each seem to be focusing on that style of gamer they're making the game for. And that's what people have always wanted. Yeah. They haven't wanted... A player doesn't go into a game going, oh, I'm going to play this game because it's the next WoW killer.
Yeah, that's not the marketing point that gamers can get behind. Except for the ones who just hate Warcraft.
Yeah, I mean... So, as long as these MMO companies, there seem to be a lot of them taking the right step towards making a game for gamers, and the MMO community is growing. It's getting bigger and bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as people don't go, I want every single one of those, and they just go for that, okay, we're looking for a game for role players. That's what Eve did. Eve wanted to role play people, and they did that. And look how popular that is. I've never heard of, before Eve, imagine 500,000 people getting together to role play.
You know, and the thing about it is, I mean, that's kind of where MMOs were built from. And then you look at the MMOs nowadays, and it's like role players are an afterthought, you know? And it's like, you know, so there's got to be people out there who are craving that experience, and you know, yeah, there's an MMO out there. There needs to be an MMO out there for everybody, and if developers will focus on that, then they'll make money. But they gotta focus on that and do that well, you know, instead of trying to just beat everybody else.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing a lot lately is there are these games out there that already pertain to that certain player. I personally am a huge Final Fantasy Tactics player, and I love role-playing. A game that y'all probably see an article up later about is a game called Wakfu, which combined the tactic-style combat in Final Fantasy Tactics with an MMO and a role-playing game. Now, is it hugely popular? Well, in France it is, but in America it's not hugely. Yeah. It's not that huge, but it's making plenty of money, and it's being wildly successful. Another game that I'd mentioned in our last podcast, Wizards 101. Yeah. They went after the family MMO market.
The market that no one ever thought was there.
Exactly, and they have so many players. Like, it's huge. They got Massively and all those other people streaming their content almost daily. And they went after a market that people were like, no, that's crazy. Who's
They'll never make any
family
money there.
MMOs? Yeah, and they're they even tailor their subscription models towards families, where I think it's $10 a month if you play solo, and if you have 2 accounts, it's $12.
Oh wow! So I mean, they were just kind of just tacking a little bit on for each additional account. That is a very interesting way to approach it.
So and that's what they did. They didn't go, okay, let's look. We want to be Kill WoW. We need these hardcore players in this. No, they're like, hey, we want a family environment for family MMOs. Now, are the hardcore raiders are gonna want to go in there and do all kind of stuff? Yeah. No, they're not. But they're okay with that. They don't want those. They honestly don't want that kind of environment. They want that family-friendly environment. Yeah. And then they offered a unique trading card game battling system that they have, which we'll go over another day. But it's a game they made for their audience. They wanted a family environment, and they even limit the chat that can be said. There is no turn off my chat filter because it's made for a family to play in. Yeah. While some people are going, I can't believe y'all would do this. That dad that started playing EverQuest, who has 2 6-year-olds now that want to play, loves that. That him and his kids can get something that they're all interested in. And people that play Walkfu, there's role play, there's the tactics elements, there's a government system. Now, is that ever going to have 12 million subscribers? No. But is it going to have that environment that those players are looking for? Yes. Yeah. So, if WildStar can have that environment where it's kind of having that, it has a mixture of let's have fun, but let's do some hardcore stuff while we're having fun type of environment. If that's the players they're going after, they're doing a great job at marketing that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a great marketing team over there.
If Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn is going after those people that just want that classic style role-playing game but with updated graphics and everything like that, they're going for it, and they're going to be successful. It's these newer things like Elder Scrolls Online that need to kind of determine if they're going to go into that after that one thing, or if they're going to try to no guys, let's decide to be a WoW killer and kick themselves in the rear end. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, do you feel confident we've kind of gotten to talk about what we wanted to?
Oh, yeah. I think we've talked actually a little bit more than we had planned.
Yeah, I kind of went off on a couple little tangents there, but I'm allowed at least 2, right?
Yeah, it's clearly all James's fault. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, it's JT's fault. Don't let him put it on me. Oh man. So well, thank you all for listening once again. We are releasing on a every other Monday basis. So you should not be able to expect a podcast this next Monday, but the Monday after. And definitely comment on the site. Let us know how we're doing. Because I mean, this is one thing we're passionate about. We love talking about gaming, and just bringing the community together to talk about this stuff is a really fun experience.
Guys, please remember to the donate option we have over to the side, that James does all of this out of his own pocket and everything like that. So anything that can help him out would be greatly appreciated.
I did want to go ahead and say thanks to all you guys who have already supported us. And on that note, I think we've pretty much wrapped everything up, and it's probably a good time to sign out.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.